The house was quiet except for the steady hum of the air conditioning. Susan sat at the kitchen table, thumbing through her usual stack of magazines while sipping on her coffee. Her son, John, shuffled in, still wearing the oversized t-shirt he often used as sleepwear. His messy hair and half-awake expression made Susan chuckle. "Good morning, sunshine," she greeted him warmly. John grunted, opening the fridge and staring blankly at its contents. At 16, John was lanky, a little shy, and like most teenage boys, spending more time playing video games than socializing. Susan often worried about him. Not because he wasn't a good kid, but because he seemed hesitant to embrace new experiences or step out of his comfort zone. "Big plans today?" Susan asked, watching him pour cereal into a bowl without much enthusiasm. "Not really," he mumbled, sitting at the table. Susan hesitated. An idea had been brewing in her mind for weeks now, sparked by an innocent conversation with her best friend, Kelly. Kelly's daughter, Emily, had been talking about a school event, a casual double date with her friends. While Susan had initially brushed off the notion, it struck her how transformative such an experience could be for John. "John," she said carefully, "I was wondering if you'd help me with something today." He looked up, eyebrows raised. "What kind of something?" Susan smiled, trying to gauge his reaction. Well, I need your help testing some clothes I bought for a project. You know how I volunteer at the theater sometimes? They need costume ideas, and I think you'd be the perfect model." His brow furrowed, cereal halfway to his mouth. "Model? Like, wearing stuff?" "Exactly," she said, her tone light and encouraging. "Just a bit of fun. You don't have to commit to anything." He squinted at her, clearly suspicious, but too polite to outright refuse. Sure, I guess. But what kind of clothes?" Susan hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "Well, dresses. I thought you could help me see how they look." "It's just for a laugh, John." His jaw dropped, but to Susan's surprise, he didn't immediately say no. "I don't know, Mom," he said slowly, glancing down at himself. "That's kind of weird." "Come on," she coaxed. "Think of it like a fun experiment. It's just us here, and you might even learn something new about yourself." After a long pause, he shrugged. "All right, fine. But only for a little bit." Half an hour later, Susan stood in her room, beaming at the sight before her. John, now dressed in a simple but elegant floral sundress, looked nothing like his usual self. His tall frame worked surprisingly well with the feminine cut, and after a bit of guidance, he allowed Susan to brush out his hair and apply minimal makeup. "Wow," she said, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "You look stunning." John fidgeted, cheeks flushing. "I look ridiculous." "Not at all," she insisted. "You look like a completely different person. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were my daughter." "Daughter," he echoed, staring at his reflection in the mirror. "Why not?" Susan said, an idea sparking in her mind. "How about we name this version of you something pretty?" He rolled his eyes but couldn't suppress a tiny grin.
"Fine.
Jane." "Perfect," Susan declared. "Jane it is." Before either of them could say more, the doorbell rang. Susan's heart skipped a beat. She had completely forgotten about Emily coming over to discuss their double date plans. "Wait here," she instructed John, now Jane, and hurried to answer the door. Emily breezed in, all bubbly energy and excitement. "Hi, Mrs. Harper." "Oh, I wanted to ask." She froze mid-sentence when she spotted John peeking out of the bedroom. Her eyes widened. "Is that John?" she asked, her voice filled with equal parts surprise and delight. Susan braced herself for John's protest, but to her astonishment, he stepped out fully, his cheeks pink but his posture confident. Hi," he said awkwardly, waving. Emily clapped her hands together. "Oh my gosh, you look amazing." "Wait, this is perfect." "Perfect for what?" he asked, confused. Emily grinned mischievously. "The double date. One of my friends, Kate, just got stood up, and we've been looking for someone to balance things out. Well, Jane can come with us." "No way," John said immediately, shaking his head. "Why not?" Emily asked. "It's just for fun. No one will even know it's you. Susan placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You did say you'd try something new. This could be your chance. He hesitated, glancing between the two of them. Finally, he sighed.
Fine.
But if anyone figures it out, I'm running home. An hour later, the group arrived at the local diner. John, now fully embracing the persona of Jane, sat nervously across from Emily and her friends, Kate and Liam. To his surprise, no one seemed suspicious. If anything, Kate and Liam seemed impressed by Jane's quiet charm and elegant appearance. So, Jane, Liam asked, leaning forward with a curious smile. How do you know Emily? John stammered, glancing at Emily for help. She's my cousin, Emily interjected smoothly. Visiting for the weekend. Isn't she great? Yeah, Kate agreed, her eyes twinkling. You have such a cool vibe. Where do you get your style? My mom helps, John replied awkwardly, earning a stifled laugh from Emily. As the evening progressed, John found himself relaxing. Liam was funny and easygoing, while Kate's bubbly personality put him at ease. He even started enjoying the attention, surprised at how easily he could pass as Jane. At one point, Liam leaned closer. You know, he said softly, you're different from most girls I've met. John's heart raced. Different how? Liam shrugged, his smile warm. I don't know. You just seem real. The compliment caught John off guard, and for a moment, he forgot all about the dress, the makeup, or the act. He simply smiled back, feeling a strange sense of confidence he hadn't experienced before. By the time they returned home, Susan was waiting in the living room, eager to hear how things went. Well, she asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. John hesitated, then grinned. It was actually kind of fun. Susan hugged him tightly. I'm so proud of you. You took a chance and had an amazing experience. As he headed to his room to change, John glanced back at the dress still hanging in the corner. For the first time, he realized it wasn't just a piece of clothing. It was a doorway to a side of himself he never knew existed, a side that was bold, confident, and unafraid to step into the spotlight. And while the night as Jane might have started as a joke, it left a lasting impression on John. A reminder that sometimes, all it takes is a leap of faith to discover something extraordinary about yourself. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains as John woke up, his thoughts tangled in a whirlwind of memories from the previous night. He stretched, staring at the ceiling and replaying Liam's words in his mind. You just seem real. Who would have thought a simple dress and a little makeup could open a door to a version of himself he never knew existed? It wasn't just the external transformation that caught him off guard. It was the way he felt inside. For the first time in ages, he didn't feel like the awkward, unnoticed teenager. He felt confident, seen, and oddly free. Still, there was no denying how surreal it all was. Morning, Jane, came Susan's teasing voice as he entered the kitchen. Haha, John replied, rolling his eyes but smiling despite himself. Don't get used to it. Too late, she quipped, placing a plate of pancakes in front of him. So, how are you feeling after your grand debut? He shrugged, poking at his food. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Actually, it was kind of fun. Susan leaned on the counter, her expression warm and thoughtful. You know, John, there's no shame in enjoying it. Exploring different sides of yourself doesn't make you any less you. Yeah, I know, he mumbled, though he wasn't entirely sure he believed it. Before their conversation could go deeper, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen to see a text from Emily. Emily. Hey, Jane, winking face. Everyone had so much fun last night. Kate said you were awesome, and Liam, well, let's just say he might have a tiny crush. John felt his cheeks heat up as he quickly typed back. John, very funny. It was just one night. I'm done. The reply came almost instantly. Emily, oh, come on. You were amazing, and Liam really wants to see you again. Please? One more outing? He groaned, dropping his phone on the table. What's wrong? Susan asked, sipping her coffee. Emily wants me to do it again. Apparently, Liam likes me. Susan raised her eyebrows, hiding a smirk behind her mug. Well, you did make quite the impression. "I can't do it again," he said firmly. It was a one-time thing. But as the day went on, the idea lingered in his mind. Part of him dreaded the thought of stepping into Jane's shoes again, but another part, a small, nagging voice, wondered what it would be like to keep exploring this new side of himself. By the time Emily showed up at his door that afternoon, John had already resigned himself to her persistence. "Please, please, please," Emily begged, her hands clasped together like she was praying. "It's just one more outing. You'd be doing me a huge favor." "How exactly is this a favor to you?" John asked, crossing his arms. "Because Liam keeps texting me, asking about you. He's driving me crazy. Just go out with him once more, and I swear I'll never ask you to do this again." John sighed, glancing at Susan, who was clearly eavesdropping from the next room. She gave him an encouraging nod, as if to say, "Why not?" "Fine." He relented, throwing his hands up. "But this is the last time." That evening, Susan worked her magic again, transforming John into Jane with an ease that surprised both of them. This time, she chose a sleek, pastel pink dress with a slightly more formal cut. Paired with a soft curl in his hair and a subtle touch of eyeliner, John couldn't help but marvel at the reflection staring back at him. "You're a natural," Susan said proudly. Yeah, he muttered, though he couldn't deny the confidence bubbling beneath his nerves. Emily arrived shortly after, grinning from ear to ear when she saw him. "Jane, you look amazing. Liam's going to lose his mind." "Let's just get this over with," John muttered, grabbing his coat. The double date was set at a local bowling alley, a far cry from the cozy diner of the previous night. The venue buzzed with energy, neon lights reflecting off polished lanes as laughter and the clatter of pins filled the air. Liam greeted Jane with an easy smile, his brown eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Hey, you made it." "Yeah," John replied, trying to sound casual. "You look great," Liam said, his tone sincere. "Thanks," John mumbled, feeling a strange mix of embarrassment and flattery. As the group settled into their game, John found himself relaxing again. Bowling wasn't exactly his forte, but neither was it for Emily or Kate, which made the experience more about laughs than competition. Liam, however, was surprisingly good, and he often stood close to Jane, offering tips and encouragement. "Try holding it like this," Liam said at one point, gently adjusting Jane's grip on the bowling ball. John's heart raced at the proximity, and he forced himself to focus on the lane ahead. He released the ball, watching it roll straight into the gutter. "Close," Liam teased, earning a playful glare from Jane. The evening flew by, and by the time they were done, John had almost forgotten he was supposed to be pretending. Liam's easygoing nature and genuine interest made it hard not to feel comfortable around him. As they left the alley, Liam walked beside Jane, his hands shoved into his pockets. "Hey," he said hesitantly, "I was wondering if you'd want to hang out again sometime. Just the two of us." John froze, his mind racing. How was he supposed to respond to that? I'll think about it," he stammered, avoiding Liam's gaze. Liam smiled, seeming satisfied with the answer. "Cool. No pressure." When John got home, he collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but strangely exhilarated. "So?" Susan prompted, sitting beside him. "It was interesting," he admitted. "Liam asked to see me again." "Just me?" Susan raised an eyebrow. "And how do you feel about that?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "It's weird. He likes Jane, but Jane isn't real." Susan placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Jane might not be your everyday self, but she's still a part of you. Maybe Liam sees something in her that's worth exploring." Over the next few weeks, John found himself slipping into the role of Jane more often than he expected. What started as a one-time experiment became an ongoing exploration, not just of a persona, but of himself. With each outing, John grew more confident, not just as Jane, but in his everyday life. He started speaking up more in class, trying new things, and even making more friends. As for Liam, their connection deepened with every encounter. Though John knew he couldn't keep up the charade forever, he couldn't deny the happiness he felt in Liam's company. One evening, as they sat in a quiet park after yet another successful date, Liam turned to Jane, his expression serious. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure," John replied, his heart pounding. "Why do you always seem like you're hiding something?" John froze, his breath catching in his throat. "I don't mean to pry," Liam continued, his voice gentle. I really like you, Jane. But sometimes it feels like there's a wall between us." John stared at him, torn between fear and an overwhelming desire to be honest. Finally, he took a deep breath. "Liam," he began, his voice trembling, "there's something I need to tell you." The confession wasn't easy, but it was liberating. Liam's initial shock quickly gave way to understanding, and though their relationship shifted, their friendship remained strong. For John, the experience of being Jane wasn't just about dresses or dates. It was about discovering parts of himself he'd never thought to explore. It taught him courage, confidence, and the value of authenticity. And as he stood in front of the mirror one last time, slipping out of the pink dress and back into his usual clothes, he smiled. Jane might have been a role he played, but the lessons she taught him were real, and they would stay with him forever. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button. And let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.